Why are we afraid of systems, strategies, and processes in our business? So I'm Natalie Cousins. I have been in the design and real estate industry for over a decade, almost a decade and a half, if not more. And as a consultant, my main thing is to concentrate on giving my clients structure in their business and also systems. And I find that most of the times when I do consultations or I do anything of that nature, the main thing that my clients say is, well, I have all of that already. And then really when we sit down and we dissect what it truly is that the business needs, they're all over the place. There's no systems in place that they should have. They're not organized, and so a lot of that is where the burnout and the overwhelm comes in your business. So tonight, as you all know, my main focus in my business is structures and systems. And so tonight I want to talk about 3 vital steps for planning in your business that helps you to avoid burnout and helps you to avoid overwhelm. But it's also going to give you productivity and it will lead you to success if you have these things in your business. So I'm talking on 3 platforms today. I am on Facebook Live. I'm also on YouTube Live, Periscope, and Instagram as well. So I will be looking at sort of 2 different cameras here or whatever, but it's very important that you grab a pen and paper because if you are not implementing these things that I'm going to talk about tonight, it is advised that you do. We are already, today is the 14th of February, and we are however many weeks into the year, and I'm still speaking to individuals that are still upside down, still overwhelmed and burnt out, and the year is not even halfway yet. So implement these 3 productivity hacks today and watch yourself fall in love with entrepreneurship again, fall in love with having a business. And that's the whole thing. Like, we all go into self-employment because we don't want to hustle bustle with the 9 to 5, but a business is more than 9 to 5. Our worth ethics kind of have to be like the CEO of a company, and we need to get our stuff together. So I've done some research over the last couple of months, and productivity and efficiency are the popular buzzwords right now. And more business owners are trying to make the most of their time during their busy day. But there are a few things that happen. They either get boggled down with tasks that they could be outsourcing, or they're wearing too many hats in their business, and that's what's causing them to be burnt out and overwhelmed. So no matter how hard you try, you simply in your business cannot do everything when it comes to running your business. So we look at large corporations. I always refer back to McDonald's. That was one of my first real jobs after leaving my family's restaurant or donut business and patty business that my parents and grandparents have owned. And when I went to work for McDonald's, they trained you on stations, right? So if you were trained on the fry station and cash, those were the only things that you would do. If you were trained on the lobby, you would only do lobby. If you were trained to grill, you would only do grill. So you had to get training on each section. There's no way that McDonald's could have me being the cashier, me manning fries, me manning the grill, and manning the lobby. Also, you can never buy a franchise of any kind and not implement what they want for the franchise. So, back in the day, I used to work for Dairy Queen. I was doing their drawings and their layouts. And if you notice that whenever you go to a Dairy Queen or whenever you go to a Orange Julius, the layouts are the same. That's because everything's cookie cutter. So when you go to buy these franchises, you have to buy their equipment, you have to buy their full system. So as entrepreneurs, why do we not have systems in our business? Why are we not creating things in our business to make it easier? So when you do get bigger and you need to train employees or an assistant, the systems aren't in here embedded. They're now on paper, so it's easy for you to train that person. Hey, Erica. So it is very important to, yes, delegate and have systems and have people in place. So investing in your business will not only decrease your stress in your business, but it's going to make your business run smoothly and therefore increasing profits. So if we're not healthy, if we're the one woman or one man show, how can we be at our best, right? What I'm trying to teach my clients is to improve productivity, which would be outsourcing specific tasks that take up too much of your time, and also kick bad habits. That's something else that we're going to talk about tonight, and create an actual plan for implementation. So all the last couple of weeks I've been talking about having a business plan, and I need to reiterate that a business plan that I'm talking about is not the one that you take to the bank or to an investor because you're trying to look for funds. I'm talking about a business plan that is for your business, goals that you are actually working towards, right? So at the end of the day, the first one that we're going to talk about is outsourcing. And what do I mean by outsourcing is rather than being saddled with, tasks that are daunting and expensive software that you may have to learn, and I can tell a testimony about that. Many business owners are accepting their limitations and finding expert services or service providers to take over these tasks. So I'm very big on virtual assistants. I don't need to have an assistant in the office that I have to keep on monitoring their time and what it is that they're doing. So every night before I go to bed, I've got my little booklet here. And then what I do is I just write down things that I need my assistant to do. If it's any content writing or anything that I need to post, if there's any drawings that I need worked on, I am working with my different virtual assistants to be able to have them do this stuff. So while I'm sleeping, they're working. And then at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning, there are things in my inbox for me to check. All right. So what takes an expert, an hour to do, right? Whatever takes an expert an hour to do, us non-savvy, non-expert business owners, it could take us up to 5 hours, okay? So the question to ask yourself is this really good use of your time? So why would I want to spend 5 hours learning a new software system or days, weeks learning something that I could just easily pass off to a virtual assistant who will be able to handle it for me? And the great thing with us being small business owners, we don't have a governing body to basically tell us that we cannot have virtual assistants. I know I ran into a paralegal a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me that the legal board will not allow her to have a virtual assistant. And I was like, okay, well, you can't have a virtual assistant for working on cases, right? Obviously, that's a given. Like their laws, probably where my virtual assistant is from, is going to be different than the laws here in Toronto. I own businesses in Atlanta, Georgia. What the Atlanta, Georgia real estate board allows is going to be different than what the board allows here. But for your marketing, for your advertising, for things that you are scheduling out, those don't have anything to do with your law society, right? So you can go ahead and you can gain others to help you with tasks that are taking up so much of your time. So my suggestion is, if you're not able to outsource these things yourself, start by asking your business associates or other people in your industry for referrals if they know of a good assistant or someone that can help you conduct regular interviews and as though you were hiring an employee. So some people have said, I don't like virtual assistants. They don't necessarily have the greatest English, things like that. The main thing is, what can they bring to your business in terms of the work that needs to get done? If you've drafted up a newsletter that needs to go out monthly, why not hand that off to them to put it into the blog system or add it to the system where it needs to go, rather than you spending time doing that? Just because they're a virtual service provider doesn't mean they shouldn't have the same high quality standards that you would have for an employee. So everything's going to be a reflection of your business. Now, let's talk about kicking bad habits. We all have them. I have them. Some of my clients have them. Some people watching today might have some bad habits. Hello, Maria. So most of us are still stuck in the dark ages. Like, I'm an 80s baby, but at the end of the day, technology in terms of Instagram and social media has skyrocketed over the last 5 years. It is unbelievable. I remember when Facebook first came out, and I jumped on Facebook in 2006, where Facebook was in 2006 and where it is right now. it is not a mirror image, right? It has totally changed. So because we're stuck in the dark age, we're doing things just because we've always had to do it that way. And so what I find with a lot of my design clients is they are so used to being the octopus in their business, right? And so they feel as if hiring somebody else to do this actual work is going to take away from them in some way. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a mother of two. I have a 7 and an 11-year-old, and I don't want to be caught dealing with the destaging of properties, or if a house has sold, going and getting my marketing materials. I feel like I can delegate somebody to go and do those things for me. And if I need new flyers printed up, it should be an easily email or a text to my virtual assistant to say, hey, the price just dropped on this property. Can you go ahead and change the price for me? So the other thing is, a lot of us have not analyzed our business during the last year. We just went through the motions. We know that we made, say, 70,000 last year, and we don't know what we launched. Did we launch any products? Did we launch any services? Did we launch any programs? Did we do any promotions? We forget that our funnel can dry up, but because money and the business is so good right now, we're forgetting what's most important, which is keeping a funnel going for our business. However, if we hired or implemented a system for that, we wouldn't need to worry about that when time gets slow, right? Now, were the results better than what you expected last year? I can't begin to tell you. I did a market research. There are a few people that I spoke to, and at the end of the day, I was very happy to see that they knew their numbers. They knew how many transactions they did. They knew how many clients they worked with. But there were still some who didn't know their gross versus their expenses and things like that. So to me, that's key when you're looking at your forecast for the new year is, what are your numbers? Because if you don't know your numbers, what are you working towards, right? Let's talk about if there's any new software programs or apps that will make your work more efficient. So like for myself, I use apps that track my time. If I'm on the phone with a client and I know that I have 30 minutes, or if I'm going to go over, it actually logs. Hello, Josanna. It actually logs what I am doing. So I know how many hours I spent on a discovery call with this client. I know how many hours I spent on a clarity call or just a follow-up call. I know with my emails, it tags it. So there are different systems to help you with productivity to know how you're spending. One of the worst things that happens is you wake up in the morning, your time is supposed to be dedicated to just checking social media for 30 minutes. And I think I posted this the other day. I love looking through the FMLS, right? Like I like looking at properties, seeing what's available, see what's new on the market, things like that. And so I compared the FMLS, because I'm in the Georgia real estate. I compared that to Facebook, and it swallows up your time because you just start searching, you just start looking, scrolling, and Facebook does that to you as well. So if you don't have a timer on for these things and for your tasks, half your morning has just gone through checking Facebook versus checking your emails and replying to them. Let's talk about books or handwritten ledgers. So I had a meeting with my accountant this week. You know, he talked about the receipts and the invoicing, and he gave me this paper, and I'm dreading to look at it because all I did this year was scan my receipts into Shoebox, which is another app. But I didn't categorize them last year because I did a lot of traveling. I was back and forth, so on and so forth. So now I'm going to have to look at all these receipts and look at where they are and what they're for. And if I had just, categorized them when I first scanned them in, doing my books for this year would have been a lot easier. So what are you going to do to delegate these tasks? One, for myself, I know I'm going to invest in a bookkeeper this year because business is growing. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be stuck being a bookkeeper. I don't like being a bookkeeper. I didn't go to school for that. So I'm going to hire somebody that can do that for me. So the biggest thing for kicking bad habits is kick them out the door. If you're not good at that task, delegate, okay? Find new software, plan out new products, create new programs, okay? These are things that you can start doing today to make your business more effective. So when you do get busy, what ends up happening is, hey, Gordon, what ends up happening is you have systems in place so that you are not trying to put them in place as you're busy. However, that being said, if you are going to get busy, it's okay to press that reset button. Because if you don't, eventually you have to think of the pyramid, right? You have to build your way up, right? And if you're not building your way up, what's the point? So if you get to a point in your business where you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling like you don't have the systems in place, my suggestion is sooner than later, press the stop button, go through the systems that you need, press the reset button and start over so you have them in place. So when you're busy, it's already flowing for itself. You know what your business needs. That's going to help you to breathe and bring excitement and enjoyment into your business and fall in love with why you chose entrepreneurship in the first place. Lastly, I can't speak enough about creating a plan. A lot of us are failing to plan. Hey, Anne. So I suggest using a project management tool or an old-fashioned planner. This year I purchased the Let It Rain planner for entrepreneurs, and this is helping me plan out my marketing for the entire year. So I already know what my March is looking like. I already know what my December is looking like. It's all planned out for me. And I'm an old school person, but I'm also using technology. So whatever's in my planner, I also have on my Google Calendar. So at the end of the day, when I am planning out for other things, I know when my Facebook Lives are. I know when I have to go ahead and submit contracts or proposals, things like that. So whatever it is, whether you're planning products, promotions, services, whatever it is that you're planning and that you're going to work on, I would suggest having it on a calendar. If at first you don't do anything else, get things on a calendar. It is so big to look at the calendar, look at the 12 months, look at what's happening, look at the seasons to figure out what it is that you're doing. So that way your marketing side of your business doesn't fall to the wayside, right? Also, without a plan, your actions are meaningless. And I'm learning that planning for even my personal life is very important, because I sometimes get caught up in my business life that my personal life sort of steps to the side. So planning your vacations, put everything into this one calendar. It's to the point where when the school gives me their PA days and their days off, that's in my calendar too. So I know exactly what's happening with my kids, and I know that I won't be able to speak to a client on that day because I've got clients that I'm working with. You might decide to work on something unrelated to your goals, or you might delay your own deadlines in order to put your client's business ahead of your own work. A business plan is a blueprint, okay, to reaching your goals, or a roadmap, no matter how lofty that they may seem. So it's very important that you write these things down, you plan them, be able to get into action with them, because at the end of the day, if it's all up here, how are you seeing it? It's just voices in your head. I forgot to plan for this. I forgot to plan for that. And before you know it, April's here. Before you know it, August is here. And what have you accomplished? You don't have anything to talk about because you didn't plan it. All right. Seeing this daily on a calendar or written down or somewhere visual, it's going to give you something to focus on, and therefore increasing your daily productivity. So if you follow these 3 productivity hacks today, watch and see how you're going to fall in love with entrepreneurship again. Watch and see how you're going to fall in love with why you actually chose to go in business for yourself and not necessarily work for somebody else. Now, I know that a lot of people talk about, being an entrepreneur can be overwhelming. They've got a lot going on and they just can't seem to get it all together. I would say that there's no fair in this. Okay, what I've also done today is I'm going to post in the link, if I haven't already done so, is my free webinar that I've pre-recorded for everyone to see why you need a 6-figure business plan to be able to grow your business. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And that is a famous quote. And I can live that testimony. I have clients right now who, because they have visualized their success, they have things on paper, they know exactly where it is that they're trying to go and what it is that they're trying to accomplish in their business. They are saying to me, Natalie, I don't know why I wasn't doing this before. The only thing that I can compare this to is like being a parent, right? I am a mother of 2. I speak very openly that my children were not planned, but at the end of the day, I had to fall into motherhood. And when you fall into something, you just have to own that position, and you have to be able to get into that car and drive, right? I also talk about when you are on a course, Your business is a course in your life, right? And if you're on that course and you're using a navigation and all of a sudden you kind of fall off the route, what ends up happening is the GPS starts to say recalculating, right? Because you're not headed to where you need to go. So if you have these things written down for a GPS, you have to enter two things into a GPS. It needs your starting point and it needs your end point. Without that starting point, how can you get to the end point? That's what your business plan is. You're starting here, and within 6 months to a year, you want to be here. And then after a year, in 3 to 5 years, you want to be here. So how can you physically build a business if you don't know where you're going, right? We all know as soon as you find out that you're expecting a child, you start reading mother books. The book I read was What to Expect When You're Expecting. And it sort of started to prepare me for motherhood. I mean, at the end of the day, there's things that my mom can tell me, my grandmother could tell me that they used to do when I was growing up or when they were having me. But at the end of the day, I needed to plan. And the greatest thing about life is just think of the development of a child. We all start off as a fetus. We come out into the world, into life, and then we begin to grow, right? Nobody comes out the womb walking. There's going to be falls, there's going to be tumbles, there's going to be a lot of things before you can get to the top, right? Before you can start standing to be able to walk. And I don't know about you, but life is never going to be easy. And even if you do have a gold spoon in your mouth, eventually you have to figure it out. So my suggestion today is plan. Please just start planning your business. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you're in school and you are figuring it out, write it down. Where can you see yourself in a couple of years? If you are starting that business, all you have to start doing is writing down with a plan where you want to go. The rest has to get navigated. You might not stay on track, but at least it will be easier to get back on course if you know where you're headed and where you're going. All right, so why you need a six-figure business plan is a lecture that I have pre-recorded to talk to you about different things to get your business going. And again, remember, a business plan is not just something that is needed for when you are going to place a loan with a bank or for an investor to get funds. It's to plan your life. It's to be successful. It's to have productivity. And again, I dedicate this month to falling in love with your business and why you started. The key thing to remember is everyone's goals are different, and that's why we all have a roadmap that we've created to learn how to take real action in our business. So there should be no excuse not to grow your business, folks, this year. The time is now to get started. The time is now to get evaluated. I also offer complimentary discovery calls if you are feeling like you are not on the right course. Let me help you get back on that course. Again, the access to the webinar has been posted in the comment section of all platforms. Again, I am Natalie Cousins. It was a pleasure to speak with you guys tonight. I hope that you found this information very enjoyable, very informative. Please remember to like, subscribe, and watch, as well as share, because sharing is caring. See you next Wednesday, and thank you so much for watching.